What is going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. I've had several people now comment in the Discord or on the videos like, hey, what do you got to say about UGA hiring? And if you haven't heard, I'm late to the party. Andrew Thacker fired Georgia Tech DC. I'm actually looking on Dog Nation here, and they have hired him as an off-the-field analyst, which is probably the absolute best thing that could happen for him. I've said before, like, I have no ill will towards Andrew Thacker. I feel bad for Andrew Thacker. I think he rose to a position he really wasn't ready for. When I look down at his resume, every year he's either at a different school, different, role or something from 2013 up until the time he gets at Georgia Tech. And that's got to be that had to be kind of difficult when you can't really stay in one place to learn and kind of get your feet under you long enough. Obviously, Slapnuts here, he is a disaster as a head coach, and he was the DC under Collins and brings him over. Right now, when Collins is fired, Key takes over as interim. Look, the defense was the stable of the team. The defense was the reason that we won the games we did while Key was interim, including 2 3-score underdog victories in Pitt and UNC. And I hear the criticism of, well, he was only successful when Key was interim because he had players like Keon White, Thomas, and Ely at linebacker. And I'll say this, I don't care how good of a coach you are. If you don't have players, you're not going to be successful. And that's why I really feel bad. He loses all 3 of those guys. They were, far and away the top 3 producers on the defense on the front end of it. And I also don't think he had great stuff around him like Marco Coleman as his defensive line coach. I talk about that in the defensive line preview. If you remember, you can see it now. I don't think it was ever going to work out well. And I was even critical of Key for firing him, or not. He didn't fire him. The criticism came from he demotes him, promotes Share, so then he fires 2 DCs in the same year. I really felt like you either got to ride with the guy or fire him right there. That was a financial decision. You were going to have to pay him to the end of the year anyway, so they, just kind of pushed him as an assistant to the defensive backs. But I don't think Thacker is a bad defensive guy, position coach or really DC. I just think he's young. He needs more experience. And that is why being an off the field analyst for Georgia, I think is probably the best thing that could have happened to him. As critical as I am of Georgia, and I'm going to be critical of you at the end of the video, they do have a defensive factory. Kirby is a fantastic defensive mind, if not the best defensive mind coaching college football now, along with Will Muschamp, who's in the top 5 too, probably. So Thacker's going to go into that room, and he's going to learn a lot. And I think he's going to develop a lot, and I'm happy for him. Even if it's at UGA, I'm happy for Thacker. I think Thacker's a good guy. Thacker was one of the 3 coaches when Slapnuts was at Tech that talked any semblance of sense. It was him, Brent Key, and Tashard Choice. And look at what those other 2 guys are doing now. Key's turning Tech. Tashard Choice might be the best running backs coach in the country. And I'm not just saying that for what, because he's a Tech guy. Look at the people he's putting in the NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs shouted him out. He coached 2 top 20 picks at running back. So I think Thacker has the potential to be successful and to be an effective DC. He's just got to learn in a system and stay somewhere for, 3 or 4 years and really get his feet under him. I think there's probably not a better place defensively to do that. Now, it is interesting because Georgia and Georgia Tech, and we haven't seen this probably in the past 20 years, have been hiring each other's coaches. So it started with Georgia Tech. We hire Buster Faulkner. That has to be the best hire of that cycle, at least from an assistant coach perspective. People have already, after 1 year, come knocking at the door to hire Buster. Tech has to give him a raise, bump him over $1 million a year. Arkansas wanted him. Kentucky wanted him as OC, and Middle Tennessee State wanted to hire him as their head coach, and there was probably some others as well. So Georgia Tech kind of makes out like bandits hiring what was an off-the-field analyst for Georgia and Buster Faulkner. And then Georgia strikes back, right? Georgia hires Josh Crawford, who was Georgia Tech's wide receiver coach, as their running backs coach. That was a hire solely because of the recruiting acumen that Josh Crawford has. And it's a testament to just how good on the offensive side of the ball the hires have been for Brent Key. Now, not necessarily, not anywhere in the ballpark of those kind of hires. You hire a guy that's kind of down, that has potential, but needs to be developed in Andrew Thacker. I hope the absolute best for him at UGA. I hope he develops there. I hope he gets an opportunity maybe to be a position coach at a better school. Not like, when I say better, I mean in the top, in Ohio State or something like that, or even be promoted position coach at linebacker at UGA and then become a DC. I think he could be a good DC one day. It was never going to work out at Tech, and a lot of that has to do with that guy right there. And honestly, Brent Key, it doesn't look good that Brent Key retains him when he fired half or more of the staff after he's hired as head coach, just to fire him the next year. Not a good look for Key. Got to be better on the defensive hires for Georgia Tech. I think we've done well from our side of the ball. Now, the thing that is kind of hilarious to me, and this is why, in a lot of ways, Georgia has the softest fan base in all of college football. Georgia, even the most minor thing gets under their skin. You can't say anything bad about Georgia. Anything other than Georgia is the best, and they've done no wrong. They've never given up a negative play on offense or a positive, anything other than that, and they go crying to their moms. And I don't understand it. At the end of this article, they give the quote that Key did, "There's nothing I hate more in the world," talking about UGA. It's probably the only thing I actually hate. When I say hate, like truly despise everything about it, I really do. And I've heard a ton of Georgia fans say, "Oh man, Key really stepped in it now. He's done messed up. He said something about Georgia. Now Kirby's going to have his number. He's really going to rub it in this year." First of all, that's absolutely stupid. I don't think Kirby gives a crap what Key says about hating Georgia. He's a Georgia Tech alum. He's Georgia Tech through. What do you think he's going to say? "Oh, I really respect the University of Georgia." This is college football, man. I mean, come on. The only reason Kirby didn't say anything like that is because Tech really hasn't been that much of a threat to them. The rivalry's been way lopsided, though that gap is quickly waning, as Key is turning Tech around. And for all the Georgia fans that feel that way, like, "Oh, Kirby shouldn't say it." Were you singing the praises of Steve Spurrier when he was absolutely beating your ass for the better part of a decade? Were you talking about how much you respected the University of Florida and Steve Spurrier? No. He's a rival. You can't beat him. You should be upset about it. You should say you hate Steve Spurrier. Lord knows he hates the University of Georgia. So that's one thing, and I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole I just don't understand. Georgia fans could never wear these shoes and take it on the chin 3-9, for 3 years, and then come on the internet after those losses and face, the music. They couldn't do it. They'll go in their holes and wait for better waters to come around. So if you're a Georgia fan, I definitely hope that gets your panties in a wad and you can go cry about that. But anyways, Tim, what you guys think? I hope the best for Thacker. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, though. You guys have a good one.